Our focus has quickly shifted to Essendon. I did that game last night. They were embarrassing. And unfortunately, that club has wallowed all over the shop for the last 20 years, to be honest.
A lot happening today that's actually a little bit hard to make sense of.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to get into that. But again, forecasting to this week, how good that we're going to have the weekend of footy where there are still so many combinations of finals for the following week that can actually happen. It
starts Friday night,
ripper.
will be a belter, and then Sunday at 3:20 at the MCG. Look out. Lots to get stuck into, but for Essendon supporters, it hasn't been a great season, and it's been a familiar tale of woe right from the opening game of the season.
Siren sounds. The Cats destroy Essendon round one at the MCG by 66 points.
Yeah, it wasn't an indication of what we've been doing throughout pre-season, how we've been training, how it was just a long way off anywhere near our best footy, and it was kind of across the board.
They've come on the road, they've won by 48 points, they've left Essendon in a purple daze.
It's a bit disappointing that we weren't able to step up and kind of get in the arm wrestle that was required at that time.
The Swans find a way, a win over the Bombers, and some question marks for Ben Rutten to contemplate.
When I look across our squad and our team, you know, we didn't quite show the resolve and the steeliness to maintain the level that we needed to. There was at times I thought we were too easily kind of derailed off our game, you know, and found it hard to get back. That's where, in particular, our more senior players, they're the ones that we need to pave the way and shine a light for our younger guys. They didn't do that tonight.
And that'll do it. Spike McVeigh gets the result he's after against his former club.
That lack of appetite around the ball. It wasn't through lack of what we knew we were going to get from the Giants. It was more about what our level of effort and output that we didn't bring.
An 84-point demolition job on Essendon by the Power.
The sort of game that our supporters, our members that came to the game tonight, watching on TV, it's not the sort of thing they should have to watch. You know, it was an embarrassing effort and output from our guys. Not something that we certainly want to stand for, not something our members and supporters should have to watch.
And the postscript was written today. 66-point loss in round one, an 84-point loss in the last game that was played on the weekend. John Ralph joins us on a big news day, Ralphie, and the first scalp has dropped, and that is Paul Brasher, the president.
Yeah, that's correct. So after 24 hours of high drama, the only confirmed change is that Paul Brasher is out and the former Channel 10 sports boss in David Barham is in. So Brasher was forced out at a board meeting today, and despite the speculation of the day, Rutten at the moment is still the coach. The board coup has been pitched as all about the club's review process. So my understanding is that when Brasher announced the review in March, a lot of those board members had no idea it was coming. They were stunned that it came out of his mouth, and from then on, they wanted an external review. Only an internal review was pitched by Sean Wellman with the help of Kevin Sheedy and Simon Madden. And so from then on, it festered, it came to a head. Guys, does it surprise you that we are 2 weeks short of 18 years since Essendon won an AFL final?
Oh, surprise! I mean, you need a lot to go right and a lot to go wrong for that for you to bounce quickly and be a premiership team again, and at the same time to go as long as they have. I'm interested, Ralphie. So the falling out today, and Brasher in particular, is that was the result yesterday almost irrelevant because it was the findings of the internal review that people were just up in arms about, or is it the review was not satisfactory and the result just compounded the issue?
I think the last 2 weeks, Essendon tell me, absolutely didn't help. But I think what started as a board review has turned into something much more significant. So the chase for Alistair Clarkson is absolutely on. The issue with Paul Brasher, he was never going to sack Ben Rutten. He was a strong confidant of him. And so board members, including Sheedy, I don't think are great fans of Ben Rutten. So unless Brasher was gone, the club would not be in the race for Alistair Clarkson, even though it's my understanding senior figures at the club knew that Clarkson was interested in coaching Essendon. And I think the strong view today is that some board members have already contacted his management. So Rutten's job now clearly untenable, whether, of course, he is sacked in coming days or he's sacked after, of course, the game against Richmond.
Xavier Campbell was asked today about the future of the coach.
As you guys are aware, there's ongoing discussions at the board level. They'll continue this week. There'll be an announcement, a statement from the club later today regarding the leadership of the board. And also some further analysis we want to, the board want to do around our football program to drive improvement, and that's something obviously we presented the board a couple of weeks ago. There's an ambition to drive improvement and make our football program the best program can be, and that's where we sit at the moment.
Have you had a conversation? Have you spoken to Alistair Clarkson?
I have not spoken to Alistair Clarkson. That's all I'm going to say, guys. We'll release a statement shortly, and
can you guarantee that?
Hopefully that's
can you guarantee
that settles you guys. Thank you very much. Ben is our coach.
So we know why we're here, and that's because on-field Essendon have been this year, and for a period, a club devoid of system, of leadership on-field. We see it every week, and of standards and accountability to that. I mean, how many times have we heard the club this year saying we don't stand for that, yet it keeps happening? So given all of that and the movement today, Gaz, what do you expect to be happening at Essendon right now?
Well, I would imagine that external review might start and stop with one man, and that is Alistair Clarkson. And if it's not happening right now, then it will be the biggest search party for Alistair Clarkson and the most impassioned plea to get that man to come and coach the Essendon Football Club next year and bring with him his own team. If that's not happening, and Xavier Campbell says that he hadn't spoke to him whatever time that is, then I don't know for certain, but I would be staggered if that is not a full-on offensive that's going to take place over the next couple of days. And they will go all chips in. And this is a big, massive football club who have been sitting in the dark for too long, and they see now Alistair Clarkson. I think it's been a late realisation that he has to be the man. And people will say about Alistair Clarkson, we're worried about him, his baggage, and he's got too much control. This is a club that needs someone to take control of their football club. And he is the perfect man with his perfect team in place. And I would think over the next 2 or 3 days, and that full-on offensive will be taking place.
I would be concerned if I was senior hierarchy at Essendon. If you're in that situation, I liken it to maybe Lee Matthews taking over from the Brisbane Lions in the late 90s when everyone went, including the president.
Yeah.
So would Alistair Clarkson want to... It would seem to me from the outside, if he was to come in, he would want a clean slate of the senior heads of the football department and the football club.
Yeah, well, I would only
expect that.
I'd only look at the footy department, and I would think if you're sitting in that football department right now and he was to come, you'd be pretty nervous because he will bring people with him that will fill specific roles. Some of those people that come might not want to work with some of the incumbents that are already there right now, and this will be, as I said, North Melbourne right now, the footy club who will be sitting back thinking they had their man in the past 24, 48 hours who'd be most nervous.
So Brasher goes because he's hitched his wagon to Rutten. So this movement today is the only way from here that it's justified is if they land Alistair Clarkson.
Yeah, I think this is, again, just read, this is a chips in. This is a chips in play from the Essendon Footy Club right now. And for whatever reason, I think they thought that they might be able to take their time in this external review. And no, there's an urgency. We know the urgency.
So what's your gut feel? Your gut feel, and whether it's informed mail or not, would he choose Essendon over North Melbourne?
I don't know, and hand on heart, I don't know, but I would think that the match, and this, I don't want to, North Melbourne have been down, and I reckon the sense of optimism around North Melbourne for a week now has been great, and we've all sort of enjoyed it. But the fit of Clarkson and Essendon might be just irresistible. And
big club.
Big club with big resources, and have been down for so long, and the history between Clarkson and Essendon, I think they're going all chips in, and they're going to go hard.
OK, so let's assume that's happening right now, and then the calls to Clarkson are being made despite what Xavier Campbell said, so we all think that's happening. If Clarkson knocks them back and chooses North Melbourne, is it untenable for Ben Rutten to have been through this?
Yes.
So regardless of what happens from here, Essendon will have a new coach next year.
When I say definitively,
only Ben Rutten can answer that question.
Reading that from the outside, if that is your play, to go to Clarkson and just lay yourself at his feet...
But what else could it be?
Well, what else can Ben Rutten do? Sit there and go, I'd be happy to come back. If you don't think you can get your man, I'll come back. I would think it's almost untenable.
Yeah, there are board members there who have posed the question of themselves, even halfway through the year. If Ben Rutten was not contracted, would he be the coach next year? And I think the answer, kicks and screams us all in the face. I think there's no way that he's coaching next year.
So why have they waited so long? Because, it seems as if, that Alistair Clarkson may be too far down the track with North Melbourne.
Well, they beat Brisbane.
Why is this taking so long?
They beat Brisbane, they beat Sydney, they got within 4 points of Collingwood. But I think some of those board members feel for every solid couple of performances, 30 tackles against Essendon, against Sydney, you lose to West Coast.
But you raised this, Gary. Those wins, they were empty.
That's right. So your question is the question. Yeah, and I think there'd be members of that board who are sitting back going, we've let this get away from us. We had an opportunity, but we were seduced by performances that at the end of the day weren't defining. They were there when the result of the season had been already sorted out, and now they're scrambling. They're going to scramble. They'll scramble big and hard.
Something would want to happen quick, either way. Because the AFL system and program waits for no one. So recruiting, drafting, all of the things that happen within an off-season, you need to be able to get that stuff in line with your coaching play.
For Essendon, they're going to wear some heat, right? Which they brought upon themselves. For the next 2 or 3 days while this process plays out and they wait for an answer, so what? Hold your nerve. If this is where you decide that this is where you want to go, then you've got to cop the criticism and you've got to wear it.
They're too far in now,
But in a week's time, if they land him and those that come with him, I don't reckon there are going to be too many Essendon fans who are going to hold the growth.
It doesn't always work out. I was at Brisbane in 2013 when they jumped early. They got rid of Michael Voss with 3 rounds to go to get into the Paul Roos sweepstakes. They all of a sudden freed up their coaching position, and then Paul Roos knocked them back.
Stakes high.
So it's high stakes. All chips are in the middle of the table, though.
So much speculation today about who else might fall. Now, Xavier Campbell and Josh Marnie were 2 people who were speculated about by senior journalists in the media. Now, I've spoken to Essendon tonight, and the very strong feel from the board tonight is that Xavier Campbell has had his 2-year contract extension endorsed in terms of he's safe. Clearly he's been an outstanding commercial CEO. We all believe that he's tied to the succession plan, and so he's going to get some paint strip off in regards to that. But I feel like right now, as we speak, that Xavier Campbell is very safe at Essendon.
So, and just the Kangaroos quickly before we move on to other issues.
Yeah.
They just got it. They've done their best.
Yep.
They've gone and they've laid themselves again at the feet of the man, and now they've got to wait.
As with Josh Kelly and so many of the star players out there that they thought might potentially be got. So they've given a soft deadline of Wednesday, according to the Herald Sun, in terms of making a decision. They need some closure. If it isn't for them, if it isn't Clarkson, they'll move on to the likes of Ken Hinkley, Leon Cameron. They just don't believe they can afford another first-timer.
Just one last one goes for you. Who wins out, Xavier Campbell or Alistair Clarkson, if one of the directives from Clarkson is I want a clean slate?
I think there can be a win-win there, Browning. I think that's still a possibility.
What's a win-win?
Well, they both could stay. So I don't think it's one or the other. I don't know. I don't think it's mutually exclusive. GWS Giants?
Adam Urzay's just blown GWS away.